Hi, I'm Dr. Nichelle Haynes.
I'm Dr. Kristen Lassiter.
And we're Medical Mamas. This is your place to get evidence-based information about your reproductive mental health.
Meaning mental health in relation to reproductive hormone changes like around pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, premenstrual disorders, and infertility. Basically, we're going to be talking about Zuranolone, which was the new FDA-approved drug for postpartum depression.
Okay, so maybe first thing we should talk about with Zuranolone is what is it?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, so it's a derivative of a pregnancy hormone called allopregnanolone.
Yes.
Allopregnanolone.
Yeah, so it's progesterone.
Yes.
Allopregnanolone is the derivative of progesterone, and this is a synthetic analog, like the
Synthetic form, basically.
synthetic form of allopregnanolone.
Yes. And so what does it do is it works at the GABA receptor.
So it works in your brain.
Yes. To bind to the receptor and basically tell the neuron to fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about how the GABA receptor, or what the GABA receptor is does, it's the one that
Yeah, it kind of decreases overall brain activity. Like GABA is the same thing that alcohol binds to, the GABA receptor.
right, so it's basically just like a calming effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was recently approved by the FDA. I think one of the things to mention is that yes, it's been approved by the FDA, but it's not ready for use yet as of when we're making this video.
Yeah, so right now we can't prescribe it because it still has to go through the DEA process of getting a class schedule, meaning like is it going to be a Schedule 2 or Schedule 4 or whatever drug. So it will probably be a controlled substance medication.
Because GABA is calming, which we don't want to do too much of that. We might stop breathing.
Yeah.
That would be our guess, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And the way that you would take this medication is your doctor would prescribe it, and then you would pick it up at the pharmacy, and you can take it at home, and you take it for 14 days, and then you stop, and then that's it. We don't know how much it will cost yet, or what insurances will cover it, or if they'll cover it, or how much co-pays are going to be, or anything like that.
We almost never have any idea how that's going to go.
Yeah. So what are the common side effects?
Okay, so the common side effects, you can remember them if you think about what it does, right? So it works at the GABA receptor, which is calming. So the side effects you could experience are related to some calming stuff. So you might be extra tired, you might be dizzy, you might, what else?
Be really sleepy.
Yeah, sleepy.
Yeah. In this study, so there's another drug called brexanolone, which is the other FDA-approved drug for postpartum depression that's given by IV, meaning you have to go to a hospital or some sort of clinical setting and stay overnight. That one, the major concern was that some patients had loss of consciousness. In this drug, they did not see any loss of consciousness as a side effect in the small population that was studied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's one thing to mention is we're excited about it, and also it hasn't been studied as much as I feel comfortable with. So talk to me about the studies.
Yeah, so they've only studied less than 500 people with this drug. So if we're thinking about medications that we use to treat different illnesses, we like to see a lot of people studied to feel really comfortable. Yes, this actually works, and yes, it's actually safe. Mm-hmm. So because it's a newer drug, all we have is less than 500 people that it's been looked at. They also only looked at women who were having severe postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. So they didn't look at mild or moderate. Mm-hmm. And what they defined as postpartum depression was somebody who either had depression starting in their 3rd trimester of their pregnancy and or up to 4 weeks postpartum. So in a lot of our patients, they develop postpartum depression after those 4 weeks postpartum. So we weren't able to see if this medication works in those patients.
So what I would like to see around this is I would like to see more people studied. I would like for them to study an expansion of who qualifies to trial the medication in the study. So people who have a history of postpartum depression, who don't already show symptoms, maybe those people who have mild to moderate symptoms, people who develop symptoms outside of those first 4 weeks, because we define postpartum as the first year, and maybe even extend that if breastfeeding is.
Yeah, or even people who have had depression like starting in the first or second trimester.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Which a significant number of women do have postpartum depression that starts actually during the pregnancy.
Right. I also would like to see more breastfeeding information. So what do we have now?
Yeah, so they only looked at 14 women breastfeeding, and of those 14 women, they didn't actually let the babies have the breast milk, or they didn't study like side effects in the babies. So they only looked at what are the drug levels in the breast milk for these women who were taking the medication, and the relative infant dose, so basically the amount that would get into the infant versus the amount that's in mom, was less than 0.5%. So it's a really good indicator that it's likely compatible with breastfeeding. So we like to see the relative infant dose be less than 10%. So Zoloft, which is a really common medication that's used, or sertraline that's used in breastfeeding, has a relative infant dose of like 1 to 2%.
So I need a bigger study for that. Like 14 people I don't think is enough to say like relative infant dose is 0.5% and feel really confident about that. And then I want to see if once safety is established, or once we know what the relative infant dose is, to then study if there are any side effects for the baby who receives that milk, for us to establish if it's compatible with breastfeeding. So I think that's another thing, kind of just waiting to see what that will look like. If maybe I had a patient who had very severe postpartum depression that fit in that range, that wasn't interested in breastfeeding anyway, or was comfortable with pumping and saving the milk, for whatever reason, that I might consider using it. But right now I just need a little bit more information.
Yeah. The other, restrictions of the studies is they only looked up to day 45, so 45 days after they had started the medication. So we don't have any like long-term data, so we don't know, are there long-term side effects? Like, does something develop a year later, or are there are the effects sustained, or are they going to have to go on antidepressants after that? We don't really know. They did show that like depression had significantly improved rates of depression after day 3, and with anxiety it was after day 8. With depression, that was sustained, that effect of being significantly less than the placebo group
For
was
45
sustained
days.
for 45 days.
Yeah.
For anxiety, it was not, though.
Right. Oh, what about insomnia?
Insomnia it was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Insomnia, I think they had improvement at what, day 3?
Day 3.
Which, great. Like, that's so. I mean, we talked about this in so many videos, right? Sleep is so important for your mental health.
Right. Sleep and depression, anxiety, postpartum are like 2 peas in a pod.
Besties. Yeah, so I'm excited about it. I just, a little cautious.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing for us is like we want to minimize risk. And here we see that there could be benefit, maybe, but we're not 100% sure about, we never are, right? But I'm not confident in what the risks are.
Yeah, so I think this would be a really good drug to use in somebody who is having severe postpartum depression and suicidal thoughts, and we don't want to have to put them in the hospital. This is a really nice way to get them better relatively quickly, according to the studies, right? But I don't think that we would necessarily use it in somebody with like mild or moderate depression, who we know most likely gets better with the traditional treatment of SSRIs and therapy.
Sleep, all of those other things.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Me too.
See what happens. Leave us your questions. I think this is a really good one for us to be answering questions about, like, look at the data, what about this thing, we didn't talk about that, or whatever. So leave us questions for this one, because I feel like, yeah, we're happy to answer those, because, I mean, we may not know the answer, but we do what we can.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for being here. Share with your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you soon.
Bye.